Today I want to talk about two things, and that is how do we improve engagement with our people and the influence and the importance of communication in regard to that. For those organisations that were 25% satisfaction and below, they had 65% more accidents, and their sick days were an average of 14 as opposed to an average of 7 for the staff who were 65% satisfaction and above. The organisations that were in the 65th percentile, so in other words, those who had a satisfaction rating higher than 65%, they were 22% more profitable. Those organisations were 22% more profitable. So if you're trying to get resonance with your management team, with your executive, these are some of the statistics that you could be using to help you. I think so many people think that this stuff is really fluffy stuff. Oh, this is HR stuff, it's sort of kind of fluffy, but it's not. You know, it can be the fundamental driver of profits in an organisation. And I think as HR practitioners, we don't often talk like that. We talk about all the warm and fuzzy stuff. But if we can talk more about the statistics associated with it and how it can drive performance to the bottom line, because let's face it, you know, if people are engaged, if they're really enjoying what they're doing, they're really enjoying the organisation that they work for, you know, they're going to be more productive. They're going to go the extra mile. You know, you're not going to have the attitude of, oh, that's not my job. And ultimately what that's going to mean is you're going to have much higher and more satisfied customers, which is going to drive more profits to the bottom line for the organisation. I think the most important thing is to understand that these days you've got to provide almost for all styles of communication. It's the benefit now of being able to embrace technology and all of the technology that we have at our fingertips. It makes it easier and easier for us to be able to do that and do that really, really well and easily. Now, I know 15 years ago, I spent 2 weeks putting together the staff newsletter. It would take ages, and by the time it got out, the news was so old, it was ridiculous. So the reality is that, you know, when it comes to communication, what we do need to understand is that, you know, we've got different groups in our organisation who need information differently and who want information differently, and will use that information differently as well. So if we're responsible for driving communication programs, you know, which is leading to then making sure that we're getting the right engagement, you know, we need to make sure that we've got the right strategies in place around engagement and communication for you know, people with, you know, the same level as you within the organisation, through the middle of the organisation, you know, below and also above, because the executive needs different information, different data, will use it differently, all of those sorts of things. And this is where there's a great opportunity for you as HR and communication specialists, is to actually become, you know, the evangelists and the leaders in this space. Because you can actually lead by example. By doing really clever things yourself, will show a manager how they can engage quite differently with their team. And you know, and when we looked at that statistic, that 84% of staff want to hear directly from their boss, you know, that could be in lots of different forms. Obviously, face-to-face communication is still really, really important. But the reality of face-to-face communication now is very, very difficult. You know, most managers are working with people and having to manage people virtually. So how do you actually do that? How do you still get in front of your people? How still do you feel connected with your people and have your team feel connected with each other and teams feel connected with other teams across the organisation? You know, these days, you know, the wonderful tools that we've got to do that is the use of technology. So talking about communication and the impact on engagement is that I think where a lot of people forget is that it needs to be a two-way street. You know, I think a lot of organisations, when they talk about an engagement survey and improving communication and all of those sorts of things, is that the solution is to push more information to staff. You know, let's tell them more, let's engage with them more, let's do all of these sorts of things. Forgetting that it's actually the most important thing that they can do before they do that is actually to get information back from their people to understand what actually motivates them, what keeps them engaged, what disengages them, which is the most important thing. What are the things that you're doing as an organisation that people are actually loving? So you need to do more of that. So it's that opportunity where identifying what you need to do more of, also what you need to do less of as well. Well, for me, in regard to trying to, first and foremost, you need to actually understand what keeps your staff satisfied and what keeps them engaged. And the only way you can do that is to ask them. What a unique concept.
So what I want to do, going through the next part of the presentation, is to look at some scenarios in your business that are probably dear to your heart. So things like induction and onboarding employees into your organisation. How do we communicate effectively with them during that process? Or look at other types of ad hoc training. So not necessarily formal training where you get an instructional designer to come in and build specific e-learning packages, but how do you do the short and sharp training that a manager might want to give to their team about a particular topic or something like that? Setting an expectation, communicating what's expected of that team, using technology to do that. And I think back when I was in leading the marketing and communications team at Data3, we wanted to do that. I had to pay, we didn't end up doing it because it cost so much to get this internal YouTube environment back in 2006. We didn't even know about YouTube then, to be honest. It was going to cost a lot of money to have a video environment where you could take rich content like that and put it in and distribute it to the workforce. And now it's so easy when your organisation's investing in things like Office 365. And I can guarantee you that no one in your IT team will ever want to talk to you about this or tell you about this, which is why I'm here telling you about it today, because I think, oh my God, we're going to use up so much data on our network. But if you think about it from our point of view, video and rich communication, regular rich communication like video, is a really easy and effective way to get people to listen to communications and so on and so forth. So think of a scenario where you might want to publish a quarterly CEO update, for example. You can use Office 365 video to do that. If you want to capture customer stories from the coalface, you can use Office 365 video to do that. If you want to publish training content that you've built in Office Mix and have that in your training channel, just like you have a channel on YouTube, you have a channel in your internal Office 365 video environment, you can publish this content here. The best thing about Office 365 video is it gives you a platform to enable people in your organisation to build content for you. So instead of the traditional corporate communications team investing in getting a videographer in and setting up the lighting and everything like that, which is what traditionally happens. I know I've paid those bills before as well, and everything that comes along with that, and trying to get the room booked like that. You can give people in your organisation the security you can apply to make sure that people get the right access to the right channels, but you can give the power to people in your business to create content. So one way that it's worked really well, we've seen, is that when you do the executive update or the CEO update, publishing it into the CEO update group within Yammer, and then having the conversation and the communication with the executive directly below the video where you've posted it as well. For a number of reasons. One, it's not just locked up with the video in the Office 365 video platform. It's in the spot where most people are starting to collaborate and communicate and think about and ask questions. Because you've got an executive in there engaging in that social environment, encourages more people to come into that social environment as well and engage with other people in the workforce and other groups or other team members as well. Which is one of the key things we find for adoption of things like Yammer and Slack and other enterprise social tools, is that it's very, very good to have one team that's all in and doing lots of stuff in there and capturing the stream of consciousness of their team or their part of the organisation and having that kind of engagement there. But if you want to raise a level or raise a tide for the entire organisation and get more people engaged in that platform, having executives engage, provide content like this and engage with people in this way, but also respond to people as well is really important. From an executive point of view, if your executives are engaging in environments like Yammer, it's actually really easy for them to create a perception of spending a lot of time in the network without having to spend a lot of time in the network. So if that's 2 or 3 minutes a day on a mobile phone, a CEO or a leader of a business can look like one of the most engaged people in the network because they're just looking for 1 or 2 questions a day that they can respond to, 2 or 3 posts that they can like that someone's posted in the network, or maybe posing a question to the broader workforce related to something they're doing that day. So maybe we've got a corporate planning workshop coming up tomorrow. What are the 2 things that you think that we need to focus on as a priority in this workshop? And just having that as an open question in the group, almost straight away you'll have 50 responses. Because people want to have a voice and want to share that information with the executive when the opportunity is there. We came back to information overload and communication overload. It's not meant to be the executive that's always spending time in Yammer and therefore what did actually do work, I'm not sure. But it's making sure it's a relevant, timely interaction that really obviously has a purpose. So the scenario is that all hands meeting, where you might get everyone and put them into a meeting room and get a camera set up and broadcast it to all your remote offices. Or maybe you want to have a customer event, but all your customers are around Australia or around the world, and you want to broadcast a higher quality presentation than just a traditional webinar or a PowerPoint presentation that you flick people through. What Skype For Business being broadcast enables you to do is have up to 10,000 participants. So that'll cover most size government agencies, which is a good thing, but also most of your customer base, if you want to do customer-facing events through this platform as well. And it gives you the opportunity to broadcast live video, so it's similar to what we're doing here, except without the broadcast. Hook that into a laptop. You can broadcast the presentation content as well. And then as a producer or a director of your event, you can, just like a switchboard operator in a broadcast studio, you can switch between the different views of that content. So instead of just having the live stream, you can then switch to live stream plus content in the same slide, or just have the content there as well. So you can kind of create a more richer experience, kind of switching between the different bits. Because the last thing you want to do is watch someone for an hour on video with the same kind of framing and the same kind of monotone voice, just like on a but being able to mix it up with the different content and different camera angles potentially, it gives a much richer experience. Also gives you the ability to record the session as well. So if you wanted to do a broadcast and then record it and upload it to Office 365 video, as an opportunity for people who join the organisation in 2 weeks' time to see the content from your hands meeting, as an example. It's a good thing it is. This one gets me very excited about the potential of this technology as well. This is called Delve Organisational Analytics. So if you're looking at workforce analytics and how do you measure how your people work in your organisation, what are they doing in your organisation, how do they communicate with each other in the organisation, you can basically get a dashboard now that gives you this perspective of what's happening in your organisation. Now, this isn't like a CRM system like Salesforce or something like that where you need to log how many phone calls you make every day or how many emails you send to certain people. This looks at all the different interactions you have in your technology environment from the Microsoft platform point of view. So the emails that you're sending and receiving, who are you sending them to and who are you receiving them from? When you're sending an instant message to people, which teams in your business are you interacting with the most in instant messaging? On Yammer, who are you engaging with on Yammer? Are you just focused on your team or are you engaging with other people within your business? Are you sending emails after hours or are you just sending it within hours? And then benchmarking all that against the average of the organisation.